Both Sierra Leone People's Party and the APC Congress Party have accused themselves of fueling violence and political intimidation of their supporters ahead of the June 24th elections. It could be recalled that both political parties have made commitment for a peaceful election. So this morning, to talk on this, we have the SLPP and the APC who will be discussing peace and national cohesion ahead of the elections. We have Mohamed El Ba from the Sierra Leone People's Party and Honorable Siraj Rollins Kamara from the All People's Congress Party. And in Studio 2, we have Oloshogo David, who's the Executive Secretary PPRC. They're all here this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, let me start with you, David, from PPRC's point of reference. What were some of these guidelines set out for political parties that they should follow through?
Of course. Good morning, viewers. It can be recalled that on the 27th of March, the Commission actually summoned the leadership of the political parties, line governmental institutions, CSOs, and the media for us to have a national conversation about the campaign modes and the nomination criteria for political parties. In that particular conference, it was resolved that there should be a ban on street rallying. And thereafter, as part of one of the observations of the All People's Congress, we decided to draw up a guideline that will actually guide the whole campaign exercise. And I'll just zoom into a few of the contents of the campaign guidelines. One has got to do with, of course, no street procession. The second has got to do with political parties should actually refrain from obstructing the other political parties' campaign activities. The other has got to do with, we don't want to see a situation where people just move into their vehicles, they'll be blowing the horns, and they will be putting up sets on the vehicles, to the annoyance of the ordinary citizens. It's also forbidden for political party to obstruct and to destroy the property or the campaign materials of another party. And we also encourage a political party to ensure that this guideline is disseminated to their members. And quite apart from that, in furtherance to that, we also conducted an activity in the regions that is titled Unhindered Access, which we received funding from the UNDP, from the Peace Building Fund. That particular activity targeted the paramount chiefs and village heads and tribal heads. And in that particular engagements, the guidelines was also provided as a way of popularizing its content. So these are just in summary some of the things that we've put together, guiding the whole campaign exercise. And of course, in the press release that we issued last week, we've actually here out our observation for the first 10 days of the campaign.
And what were those observations?
Primarily we noticed that the first 10 days of the campaign exercise has been a bit quiet, relatively quiet, with minor incidences, especially in the western area. We've not had any reports of any obstruction or obstructive tendencies of members of either of the political parties. We've not received any formal complaint about the tearing of posters of political opponents. We've got some minor reports, which one has got to do with the obstruction of the APC campaign trail in Moriba Town, Bonthe district, allegedly by operatives of the Sierra Leone People's Party. We also have reports from Mile 91, where known members of the Sierra Leone People's Party were chased out and they have to seek refuge at Moyamba Junction on the 24-hour base. And we've got reports about tearing of posters in Falaba, in Magruka, in Kenema, Blama Town to be specific. But all of those have not actually surmounted to any worrying type of a situation, save for the two known reports that we received for Mile 91 and Moriba Town in Bonthe district. And immediately the commission interfaced with the security sector to see what can be done. Because one of the misgiving as well, I need to clarify, is that the PPIC has got its mandate, but things that have to do with wounding, things that have to do with assaults, threats of life, it's outside the limits of the PPIC. So we normally coalesce with the security sector and we ensure that we follow those investigations to a logical conclusion. So that is exactly what is ongoing.
Okay, thank you for the update. Let me go over to Siraj now. You know, for the sake of peace and national cohesion, both political parties have signed, you know, to go throughout to the June 24th election, to go to the polls in a peaceful manner. In that line, what's the level of commitment there?
The level of that commitment can be seen in the manifesto of the APC flag bearer, which is now the official candidate, Dr. Samuel Kamara. And he said that in the first pillar, he says, build one nation, rebuilding national unity and cohesion. I'm sure you guys may have read that. And practically what some of us would like to see, and I believe should be the vogue in the campaign and after the campaign, you know, to see a situation where Mohamed Elba and myself from two different parties sit down and talk about the future of Sierra Leone, not just about green or red. This has been very, very annoying, I must say that. We lost a relative and we had a 5-year memorial service for her. And her best color was green, you know. And so the souvenirs bear some green elements on the bottles and the pens. And somebody met me and said, because you are not given symbols, so you are now going to green out because you saw me, you know. I don't think, and that's total pettiness. And I'm sure some of our leaders have fertilized that aspect over time. But maybe with time, I want to take permission to take you back to the 2007 elections when we formed Democracy Salon, a 64 civil society coalition under the National Democratic Institute. What did we see? The last 3 days of campaign, Democracy Salon and Salon Police organized rallies wherein Charles Magai, Berewa, and Anes, or their will lead the procession all together, you know, on the same days. Then we did that for 3 days, and the 4th day the police decided to do theirs as well, you know, before we had a cooling off day on Friday before the election on Saturday. So you find out that there were very, 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 very little cases of violence or what have you. For me, I want to commend PPRC. I was totally against that. I must say I've been here before. I oppose that. But when you see the fruit of a decision coming up, then you have to appreciate that it was a wise decision. So I must commend them for that.
In an instance where even the PPRC have been, they've observed the 10 days of the campaign period, relatively they say it's peaceful, but we've seen political parties, both political parties issuing statements and accusing each other. The APC is saying that people have been attacked in Pujehun and other parts, and the SLPP are also saying in Falaba and other parts that people have been attacked. Yeah. And you mentioned the commitments politicians give, but you don't live up to them when it comes to campaign period. Why? Yeah,
well, this is it. It is the unfortunate aspect of it. For me, I always say, even when I was my brief stint in Parliament, I used to say nobody will take my hand and take, I would say, and Creole, SO2, excuse me, you know, take me handful Bangana fire, you know. I think it's high time our young people started to think that, to say the future is tomorrow, the future is now, and they should behave responsibly.
But this is not just about the young people. We've all seen video and heard politicians, leaders, making threats, you know, saying we'll not tolerate this political party in this region. We've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it on social media. And this is not just about the young people that we always claim perpetuate violence, but they're ignited by politicians, they're leaders, people who go to campaign and make statements.
That's one aspect of why I want to say the young people, they are the implementing force, you know, most times. So these guys make statements with the hope that these boys will go out and implement. I saw also a video, something happened in Nigeria to come on to mitigate violence, and this guy came and gave the guys money and said, where are your children, you know? And so when the young men start to ask those questions, if you talk about campaign, I want to see this minister's children in front of the campaign. When you start to ask those questions, then we are very much serious. Because what we see out here, I told you my time in Parliament, when we are in the gallery, what is happening there is so different what's happening outside
As a political party, the APC, are you taking responsibility as well of, you know, inciting your supporters to some of the things the SLPP is alleging happening in your area?
I will not allude to that, knowing the nature of the leader of the party and the Secretary General. These people, when you say Samura and Lansana and violence, these are poles apart. So I will not definitely...
How about those who go to campaigns and make statements, you know, insightful statements?
Well,
it's part of the campaign, and these are leaders with the party.
I also saw a campaign message from Jagaban. When you listen to that, you see that APC is actually away from violence. But let me go back to the Pujan incident. And when that occurred, the chair lady of the district, Kadi, issued a voice note. And we asked that we should go there and engage the people, call PPRC, call international community. I said, because everything has a beginning. I said, if we don't, in a week, days or two, we'll hear another incident. And we heard about Bonthe and Kenema and other places. Now, the SLP also refined that we attack them in Falaba and the rest of it. So for me, I will only maybe take it back to the PPRC to issue a statement, and maybe it's not enough, and if that person make a statement like somebody of the SLPP in Kono, and he said, if nobody doesn't like Madabio, use like that, that immediately that man would have been brought to book, Public mistake,
so this
public
is the point. I'll move to Bash quickly. As political parties, you see these things, but when it comes to taking responsibility, you don't. But at the back, you say we condemn violence and all of it, sign commitments to peace and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it difficult for political parties to take responsibility and call their own members out and say what you've done or say is not what we stand for?
It is insincerity by the party, because they just don't want to take the blame. But the fact is that when such things happen, it has to be that APC or SLPP. And when we start to be true to ourselves and say, okay, when we start to confess and say true to ourselves, then maybe that will stop this incident. But when I know that if I commit a crime, my father will say, no, it's not my son, I'll keep on doing the same thing. So I think the leaders have to be true to themselves and say, I did not send them, but such things happen. And maybe that's why we still want to commend PPRC to have put restraint on such things, because we know how it happened before. Some people not even belong to the party, because especially for young boys, when the APC rallies today, then they also they wear red. When the SLPP rally, they put on green. So you cannot take control of such people. So maybe that's why the leaders are a little bit afraid. But now that it has been streamlined this way, I think it's a matter of sincerity to say, yes, we want a better Sierra Leone, and we have to condemn this. So you don't have to cover up things. I think that's the point there.
I'll bring back into the conversation, and it's same accusation back and forth. As soon as the APC released a statement accusing your party of attacking their members in the southeast, you've also issued a statement, making allegations against them of attacking your members in the northwest as well. The point is about taking responsibility. As a political party, do you take responsibility of those allegations against your party?
Well, it all depends to the nature, of the allegations, and of course whether those allegations are actually allegations that one should actually take into consideration, having in mind, incontrovertible evidence to substantiate, or to justify those allegations. I think what we have seen over time, especially in recent time, leading to these elections, we've seen major proponents, of the APC in videos, spewing tribal sentiments, hate messages, inciting young people. The evidence is there, clear.
You've not seen those being made by your own party members as well, where they make comments, insightful statements? You've not seen those on social media as well?
The SLPP has condemned in its entirety, any form of violence within the party. The president, in all his engagements, has been very, very clear that SLPP is a peaceful party, and any form of violence within the party should not be tolerated, and has never been tolerated since then. And the reason why I'm saying this, you understand? Well, for some reason, somebody will want, because of the convenience of having access to internet now, somebody will do in the comfort of his or her room and make all sort of audios and stuff like that, without that actually been attributed or supported by the party, which most times the party don't have control over, you understand? But in instances where we've seen, for example, like the current leader of the flag bearer of the All People's Congress, just a few days back, he was on tape to have said that, in fact, they have won the election already, and they are going to rig the election. Messages of such from no less a person. And we've seen also instances where major proponents within, including Samura Kamara, hobnobbing with somebody who is out of this country, who has been instigating, who has been inciting, using all sort of unprintable languages, invectives, on women of this country. He went over them, he sat with him, granted him hijab. So even in all of this, the APC has never distanced themselves from these remarks or inciting messages. Just 2 days ago, no less a person but a former deputy minister of the All People's Congress was seen in the video making tribal, bigot, she's a bigot, making tribal sentiment, referring to the Libas and the Fullers to, go back to up country because they don't belong here and here belongs to the Hughes. So all of these things, are so worrying that if at the top we cannot preach peace, how do we expect, our followers to actually, do things that will not jeopardize the peace and cohesion we have as a country? I also saw a video where young kids were being taught how to hate. They are pointing at the picture of Manaview, you understand? And they are being taught by elderly people standing there pointing fingers on the president to hate him, infesting those children, who supposedly should be the future leaders of this country, to hate at that stage. It is so worrying. That's why the Sierra People's Party is concerned. We actually issue out a press release that every Sierra Leonean has the right to belong and freely implement their activities, given or devoid the geographical location they find themselves in Sierra Leone. So it is worrying, and I think the APC, to a very large extent, should take responsibility, because we've seen clearly, look at the last time, Samura Kamara also, the commodification of women, vowing that if he wins an election, the June 2024 election.
But we share social. We're on social media. We share different platforms, and we've seen where both the two major political parties, there's been tribal rhetoric from both ends. What's the challenge of political parties who claim to be peaceful, calling out their members, and naming and shaming them, or coming out with a statement like you did, accusing the APC or saying, we condemn this individual and they do not stand for what we believe in as a political party?
I have said that in all the speakers.
No, but it's mostly general condemnation. No, it's mostly, like I'm saying, most times it's general condemnation. Every other politician we've spoken to here, or who goes out to campaign, would say, we stand for peace. The PPRC man will attest to that. But you see people who support the party, who go to campaigns, making this statement. So can't the political parties come out and name these individuals and dissociate themselves from them?
The SLPP has done that severally, distancing themselves from, violent act within the political party. If you recall, the history of the president while in opposition, there was a video going around when he addressed party faithfuls at the party office prior to 2012 election. He was saying that I'm not a violent person and no violence should not be tolerated within the SLPP. I think these are some of the remarks we should be seeing, and not. The difference is, Lama, is that yes, I agree. No, it would be hypocritical to say we have not been, hearing or seeing evidence of, threats or hateful speeches from both sides. But I will tell you for a fact that yes, like I stated earlier, it is important to note that, one having his or her phone, you can go into the comfort of your room and do whatever recording you want to do and release it out there. That does not necessarily mean that you have the blessing of the political party. But if you get to a point where the leaders themselves, like we've seen with the APC, it is clear. Lama, it is clear. You've never had, for example, the flag bearer of the APC or the SLPP, or the Secretary General of the SLPP, or any, highly placed personnel within the SLPP, rank and file of SLPP, issuing out statements like that, what we have, for example, from Samura Kamara.
Okay.
I must take that. So I think that is where we are calling, you understand, on the PPRC and also the political parties to remain committed to the agreement at the sign of the political party to ensure that one, we stop the hate messages, two, let us be tolerant and ensure that we build and consolidate on the gains made by this government in ensuring that we
will come back to you back quickly. Let's move to Davis, to the PPIC man. And then, you know, how do we go beyond these commitments? The PPIC, I almost read, almost every week I read press releases, PPIC reminding political parties about their commitments and what they should do. But how do we go beyond these statements? They come, they write, they commit, but they do otherwise.
Of course, it has to do with sincerity. And you know, that's the reason why the PPIC, we are always informing the political party leaders that they are not the owners of those parties. But the true owners of these parties are the ordinary membership. They are the true owners. And I'm sure it's just boiled down to sincerity. And one of the things I actually failed to also note, part of the press release, the content of our press release, was we also noted the incendiary statements being made by two senior All People's Congress members, inciting and making ethno-tribal rhetorics that actually have the propensity, you know, to lead to some chaos or violence. And we don't want to see our country moving in that direction. One of the grace and one of the beauty of Sierra Leone has got to do with our intermarriages. We married not based on tribe, not based on region. We married not based on religion. And so that is exactly what we want to see. We want to see a cohesive nation. We are tribe, we are religion. It's not part of the political discourse. We want our political actors to focus on the contents of their messages. We want them to focus on the content of their manifesto. Also, it's part of our press release. We also noted the violence that actually ensued that led to the burning of the former Eastern Region Chairman of the All People's Congress in the person of Diana Konomani. And immediately as a proactive commission, we reached out to her and we were informed that she categorically told us it's boiled down to intra-party issue and has got nothing to do with other political parties melting such havoc on her residents. So these are the things, as a commission, we really need, you know, our political leaders need to put a stop to all of this. And part 8, and I'm going to remind our political leaders, I'm sure those in the studio, the citizens watching, political actors watching, I'm going to remind them of Part 8 of the Political Parties Act number 25 of 2022 that deals with the codes and conduct of political parties. And in that particular section, there are provisions given to the Commission to suspend a party from participating. So they will think that they can do and undo. You know, as a Commission, we are responsible for the registration and supervision of parties. So what we do, we believe in dialogue. We believe to have an interface with our parties when there are issues of transgression for us to discuss and to see how those issues can be amended. But the persistency of those, then we leave the Commission with no option than to resort to what is contained in the Act. Which one can be, we can fine, we can warn, we can fine, we can even suspend and deregister them ultimately. So these are all possibilities before the June 24 elections. But as a responsible commission, we don't want to go that path. That's the reason why we always engage our political actors. We always create the platform for dialogue with our political actors. All of the programs, all of the activities that we've actually executed, we've got our political players. The unhindered access activity was a novelty on the part of the commission. Because what the commission was fearful of, especially the chairman, we don't want to see a situation where politicians will want to campaign in a particular chiefdom, in a particular region, and they are impeded from entry. So what we did was to have an engagement with the paramount chiefs in all of the 14 electoral districts in the regions. And at the end of the day, yes, the program was really timely because some of our traditional leaders attest to the fact that they have vowed not to allow certain political parties entering into their chiefdom because of the tribal sentiments, because of the ethno-divide, ethno-regional rhetorics, because of insults thrown at their persons. But at the end of the day, with that conversation, they subscribe to the fact that they will definitely not take the path they wanted to take, and they demonstrated that by signing off an MOU. And I'll tell you, from the day of our engagement with the Paramount Chief till date, there has never been any complaint from none of the political parties that we were impeded from entering into this chiefdom, and that we have this Paramount Chief publicly supporting a particular candidate. So it shows how respectful our Paramount Chiefs have been to the MOU that they've signed with the Commission. So we're expecting the political leaders to also do the same. We don't want to see a situation when high-profile politicians will be on the campaign platform and they'll be sending down tribal rhetorics, tribal divide. We don't want to see that. We want to see a decent society. We want to see a situation where the citizens are left with an option to choose based on the information, based on the products by way of the manifesto that the political parties are going to present to them. And, you know, the citizens will actually judge. Initially, when we placed a ban on street rallies, they thought we want to muzzle the space, we want to close the political space, but it has paid off. We've seen that we've been going through campaigns for over 10 days. We've not got a situation where there will be a stop, there will be a total breakdown in law and order, where you see the school kids don't go to school, where you'll see markets or shops closed down. They are busy with their campaigns, and the nation is still running. So that's the type of society we want to see. That's the type of environment we really want to see. And as a commission, we'll definitely ensure that the political space is regulated within the confines of the law, and we are now sending information to our political leaders to uphold the contents and the tenets and the provisions of the acts and of all statutory regulations covering their operations in the country.
Okay, thank you very much. Quickly, Asura Undop, let me start with you again, Siraj. You know, it's all about packaging content, the message, and who gets the message out. Is there a strategy that you get to use so that, you know, your content and the messages you get to send out there is tailored in a proper way? Do you have one?
It's already there, but as again, maybe what you have on paper, and when somebody comes to speak or to read such, and maybe that's where the problem comes in, you know. And I think this is when we say campaign, I compare politics to. So for us, I think this is a golden opportunity when you have the platform, especially reaching out to first-time voters, let them see confidence in us that they have a sense of belonging, and that we are not talking about retaliation and what have you, because we want to appeal to people. And
there are no detrimental punishments that they get to say what they like.
I cannot say yes or no, but because there is detrimental punishment, we had it from the PPIC.
No, from the political parties themselves, within yourselves.
Well, maybe because, well, Elba said that when somebody went, he had a confine of his house, he can, we call it keeper generation of these phones. People just feel like saying anything. So maybe whether they are brought to book or not, that could be the reason. But for me, it is not just good. We have to speak good and good language to the nation and lure and woo voters.
Elba, within the political parties, how do you get to regulate yourselves so that the messaging and content, you know, there's sanity within all of that?
The SLPP has been a very disciplined political party, I must state, you know, and what we did, you know, prior to this electionary, you know, stage, is that we formed, you know, different committees to manage the affairs of the election. We have the PR committee, we have the campaign committees, and we have various disciplinary committees, and we have various committees. Nobody on behalf of the party has any right to speak on behalf of the party without the prior approval of those, you know, structures established to manage the affairs of the election. So that was one particular strategy we employed as a party to ensure that we are able to control, especially with the leadership of the current president. Of course, everybody knows that within the SLPP that he's a no-nonsense man. He's very, very disciplined, and when once, you know, a particular decision has been passed down, nobody should go against that. You understand? Over and beyond that, I still think, you know, the APC has a responsibility to ensure that, one, we de-escalate, you know, the political tensions in Sierra Leone. And I want to believe, to a very large extent, they have been silent, especially relating to proponents, you know, inciting young people in this country, like the August 10. We all know that a particular person associated with the APC, and just recently we saw a video where he traveled to England and he was being welcomed by strong APC people. And the APC has never once
condemned or issued out any release condemning that particular individual, which is Adebayo. You understand? And we have seen also from Samura Kamara himself making, some statements that are really, I want to say, unfortunate, that are not good for the health of our country and the peace and security of this country as well.
Okay.
So,
what's the SLPP's commitment to
the
de-escalating?
Yeah, the SLPP,
I like
of course.
that word.
Yeah, sure.
We are 20 days to the election.
20 days to the election. We are saying that nobody within the SLPP should use, let us discuss based on issues, let us discuss based on what we have put in our manifesto to lure voters, let us discuss based on what we have done, what have you understand? But to resort to using tribal, rhetorics or inciting people, I think that should be condemned. Okay. And the SLPP will condemn that today and will not tolerate that from any insider within the SLPP. You understand? Okay. That has never been part of our DNA. So we are encouraging our brothers also from the
maybe out of excitement to exuberance, people say things, in a manner that is unacceptable. But I'll tell you that the nature of the leader of the APC, Dr. Samura Kamara, the secretary, and even the chairman of the party, Mr. Minkaluman, is a very good strategist, and he never condoned such, and I've never, in fact, he was even a victim of such at one point. So I'm just telling you that we have people at the helm of affairs who believe that the best way to handle and take over governance is being civil and also bring up messages, as I speak to you, that we want national cohesion. Okay. And you cannot have national cohesion if the party is segmented. So I think we are committed to that, and definitely I'm sure it will be asserted further by the Secretary General, on a day-to-day basis to remind our members.
Thank you very much. Davis, finally, we know you play a very important role to remind the political leaders and political parties about their responsibilities, and you just warn them about how powerful the PPRC is now, but what is expected of them these final days to elections? We're just 20 days to elections.
Of course, I want them to actually treat the people of Sierra Leone with high level of seriousness and with respect and decency. That is one. What I mean, throwing some tribal divide at the end of the day because of their political and selfish ends. Okay. They should know that they are not the true owners of those political parties. The general membership, the ordinary masses, are the owners of those parties, and they must be respected at all times. And I'm going to tell them as well that they should also ensure that they adhere to all statutory laws. Because at the end of the day, when they take the seat of power, they are going to govern the state based on those statutory powers, based on those statutory requirements. So it is expected of our political actors to ensure that they adhere to the dictates of the law at its fullest. And the PPIC will at all times ensure that a level playing field is created for political parties generally, and also ensure that what is contained in the act is actually adhered to. So by way of admonishing our political actors, please carry on with your campaign exercise. It has been relatively peaceful. We're expecting the rest of the other campaign days to be extremely peaceful. It is not when you melt out violence that you'll win, definitely. We have people that you'll actually ward off when you melt out those violence. So give out your messages in a very peaceful manner, in a very decent manner, and also, in conclusion, I want my political actors to also know that there is a ban on street rallies. There is a ban on street rallies, and we want that particular regulation to be respected. Okay. We don't want the commission. I'm sure the parties wouldn't want the commission to invoke what is contained in Part 8 of the act that was actually given to us by the people of Sierra Leone through the respective political party leaders, and also given to us by the House of Representatives who are representing the people of Sierra Leone. So the laws that we have are not promulgated by the Commission, but they were conferred on the Commission by the people of Sierra Leone. Okay.
Thank you very much, Olusegun Davies, and thanks for joining us this morning. And I think that has been a very good ending note to political parties. And what we're trying to do here is to ensure political parties, I like the word Elba used, to de-escalate, because they all have a responsibility to ensure that we go through this process peacefully. So we've got commitment from the two political parties, and the PPRC as well is monitoring the process and has called on political parties to take responsibility and ensure that they adhere to the rules, because the PPRC is powerful now. They have more powers now. They can deregister political parties. We'll continue this conversation on how we should maintain and ensure a peaceful electioneering process with just 20 days to the elections. Thanks, Davis, for joining us this morning. Thanks, Rabbi Siraj. I hope I'm safe calling you Rabbi, right?
Rabbi, yes, Rabbi, yes.
And thanks, Mohamed Ba, for joining us on the show this morning. We'll continue the conversation on elections on our different programs. Don't forget to tune in at 8 p.m. for Leone Decides specifically on elections.